Can we just start informally?
Yes.
Tommy Kersten.
Has it started?
It just started.
Sorry.
It just started. Tommy, we're in the Cypress campus right now of Houston's First Baptist Church, which is where you serve.
Yes.
How long have you been here?
I started in 2020, a great year for America.
What month did you start?
November 2020. So it was later in the...
November, yeah. Basically 21.
It wasn't quite... COVID was still very much a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah, you still got to go on Rush Week 2021 with us, where we all got sick.
We all got
Some of us got sick. Some of us didn't.
Some of us did not. Some of us got to go on our vacations.
Some of us got to go on our vacations, but then others didn't. Is that a good way to start a podcast?
No.
Oh, man.
I
Tommy,
still wish you would have gotten sick. That's okay.
We're sitting here in the Cypress campus, and in all transparency, I was so excited to come here to interview you, but also the student ministry in Siena is getting ready to have a little bit of a renovation, and I said, well, there's some ideas that I'd love to steal from the Cypress campus, and so
Come on.
I love being here. I love being out here, and you guys are doing such a great thing out here. 2020? That's crazy. You've been here for almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
Wow.
I know.
Well, tell me, because this is, remind me, and just kind of tell the audience, I guess, kind of, how did you get here from, not like I was born in blah, 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 but like I remember the story of like you being, I think you worked at AT&T.
Yeah, worked for
Tell us
AT&T and great company, all of that good stuff. It was kind of a fresh out of college job, and then I ended up just really it was during that COVID time when we weren't allowed to go to church and we were doing church online, and so I always had I remember driving almost every day because I did kind of outside sales for AT&T, and like thinking, I'm trying to figure out if I feel like God is calling me to a ministry full-time role or if I just miss community in general. And so my wife and I, we actually lived in the apartments that are just across the street over here, and about maybe quarter mile away. And we actually had no idea that this was here, that the building was here. A lot of people don't know that. And
That's crazy.
We go on walks almost every night, and we went on a walk. We were like, let's try this way. And we walked down Mason Road, which is just right in front of our campus, and walked past it. And I remember looking at the campus and being like, Houston's First, Greg Mott, Breakaway, A&M, because we went to A&M, and so we knew what Breakaway was. And it was just like I had no idea that was here because there's Bridgeland High School right next to us, and we thought this has always just been a part of Bridgeland High School. So we literally walked by, and we were like, that's really cool. That's a church. We were going to a different church at the time, but it was just cool to know it was there. And then just continued to have these thoughts of, man, do I feel like I'm supposed to be in ministry? And so I remember just going on the church's website, looking up the staff, and it had a way you could contact the pastor. And so I emailed the campus pastor, and it was just Jason, and it was just like, hey, my name's Tommy. I'm looking for, I've done ministry in College Station for 4 years and looking for something, just wanted to see if you even knew of anybody who was looking to hire full-time student ministry staff. Didn't know the climate of staffing at churches for COVID, any of that. And so I got God placed me in Bridgeland at this time of the year, and I know that because Jason emailed me and back the next day and was like, hey, crazy enough, our associate left last week, and we are going to be interviewing for this position. Would you like to interview? Said yes, went through the process, left AT&T, and then ended up here as the associate. And they had actually hired a student minister as well at the same time as me, and then the student minister didn't take the job.
Oh.
And so that was, I was coming in thinking I'm going to be under this new student minister. It's kind of like new leadership. It's going to be wild. And lo and behold, that guy didn't end up taking
Joke's on you. You're actually in charge.
I know. So I ended up getting the privilege a few months later. They offered me the job.
That's amazing.
To be the student minister. And so,
so if I'm getting my timing right, if people are listening, we interviewed Nathaniel Coons, who was the previous student minister here, not the one who didn't take the job, but he had the job for a little while.
Right.
And I want to say he left in,
I think 2019 or February 2020.
I was going to say
like
it was February 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they were kind of, and then the associate had left that fall, so they were kind of already looking for both the student minister, and then the associate left, and they were like, yes, we'd love to interview you.
Yeah, which this is not a small, so we're a multi-site church, 4 campuses. This is not a small campus. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you know, do you remember how many you were running back then?
And during COVID, I remember my first week, it was in the 80 to 90s.
Which COVID is like not the measurement. Like, what are you running right now?
Right now, on a Sunday, we'll run around anywhere between 250, 260.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just fun.
Yeah, the COVID numbers don't tell the real story.
Yeah, they don't. They really don't.
And to have a church with no student ministry staff at all, except for probably admin.
Yeah,
I think
had admin.
Karen was still here.
We had an intern that stayed behind and helped us out.
That's good. Yeah. Man.
And so, but before that, Nathaniel, he was doing great, and they were. It was not always 90.
He was doing okay.
He's
doing great. He's average at best.
You're doing great, Nathaniel. And but we were running 140-ish, I think, between 140 150 at that time, and then COVID, obviously, like every other church in America, just was did a number.
Yeah.
So and then it was in April, May when they announced that. Or they offered me the student minister position and announced it to the world, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a joy to work with you for these last 4 years. That sounds like I'm about to say, like, sorry, I'm quitting. Or you leaving. It's been a joy to work with you and to watch kind of what the Cypress campus is doing. And when I talked to you about this interview, I was like, man, I want to talk to you about student ministry, but like, what is on your heart? And you had an answer right off the top of the dome, which I thought was very interesting, which is I love getting to minister to affluent kids or kids from an affluent community, which I will tell you, I don't think that's everyone. Mm-hmm. I think that there's perks to like affluent community. There's a little bit of toughness that comes with that. Same thing on the other end of the spectrum. Christy and I have ministered in a couple of different contexts. Mm-hmm. In church planting, it was in a more affluent community. But then in our student ministry role before that, it was a little more, average, middle class. But in the Siena campus, we're in a more affluent community. So I was so excited to hear what you're passionate about as far as that. Tell me what's behind that. Like, what do you love about ministering to kids from affluent communities?
So I think something that's super important too is like we are placed in a community a master plan community that's continuing to grow. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that Jason actually said one time that has stuck with me is we are. The people that come here, ourselves included, we have sin. It's all just master planned.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of, just because there's nice things everywhere does not mean that the sin isn't there.
Yeah.
We still have broken families. We still have students dealing with very, very crazy things that even now I'm like, man, I can't believe you are going through that. And so a little bit of that is, Cypress being a suburb of Houston, you kind of get those, we have the nice schools, we have the nice, Lifetime just down the street,
the biggest HEB going in?
Yeah, apparently the nation's largest HEB going in.
Crazy.
Just right across the street from us.
And y'all are, what is the stat on Cypress? Is it the large or fastest growing?
It's one of the fastest growing master communities in Texas right now. And so I believe right now so our church started with like 300 people out here, and we have continued to that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. And now we're averaging around 2,000-ish different people on a Sunday morning. And so our master plan community all around us is I think they're about to hit the 50% mark of being halfway done. And so that's
You're not even close to done growing.
No, and so it's been neat to get to have the opportunity to just walk alongside kids who grew up similar to me. I grew up in College Station, so more community feel. We were South College Stations where the students weren't, and so it was the kind of where everyone that was either professors or doctors or whatever, that's where they lived. And so, part of my testimony is like living the double life in high school, and there's just, I think my passion is getting to walk alongside students and be like, hey, I know that obviously there are different things, society, social media, everything that's maybe different than what I had back in school, but I get the pressures that you're feeling of, if you don't get accepted into a certain type of school, then you're a loser or you're dumb or everyone's going to judge you. Like, I understand the different societal pressures that they're kind of feeling. And so that's where my heart is students that live in this area. And not every student is like parents are making millions of dollars. It's not by no means is it that at all. There's some of that, but we also have students who come from families that aren't believers, that are invited by their friends. We have students that get dropped off on Christmas Eve or Easter Sunday by their parents, and they're waiting for rides when we're all kind of walking out, and it breaks your heart. And so, by no means is it rainbows and sunshine everywhere they walk and everywhere they go. So,
I found that I think the affluent communities are probably able to cover up that sin a little bit, kind of like you're saying. The sin is still there, but it's kind of buried underneath, and there is a lot more opportunity or ability to cover it up or to mask it or whatever. And so the sin is there, and so now the thing that I found about affluent communities or kids from affluent communities is that sometimes it can be really difficult to break through that wall of I need God, because they almost don't need anything. Yeah. Have you wrestled with that at all with your students? Like, a sense of why would I need God? Like,
sure. Yeah. I actually, my first year here, I had a student who, I think he was a visitor. He was a visitor. And he asked me, my dad just got a bonus for $500,000.
Okay.
He was like, why do I need a God? Straight up, why do I need a God?
It's a great question.
And I was like, no. And obviously there's the soft toss of sharing the gospel with him. But it was also like, if your value was, if you're finding your value in this money and your dad lost his job tomorrow and he didn't have that, would you still ask the same thing? Or are you mainly trying to find God's on this earth, whether that's money, whether that's success, whatever it is, to be the thing that's carrying you through life? And so some of that, but also we have some of the most humble, giving students and families that I've gotten to be a part of and work with. I've gotten to see be on the other side of hey, I know this student's struggling. We want to gift them and pay for their entire Costa Rica trip. Or, hey, we know that this student wants to, can you anonymously give them this on behalf of us? And so we've gotten to see that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have a really generous church. I will say that. Yeah, and I think I've learned it through things like World Mission Offering and those moments. Well, even, what we call Kainos, which is kind of this initiative to expand our Scenic Campus and kind of add on to some other things across all 4 campuses. But I've noticed just a high sense of generosity and a group of people wanting to get involved with the kingdom. So that's incredible.
In fact, this land, the 36 acres, 38 acres, whatever it is, was actually donated by a church member.
No way.
The church didn't have to buy it. That's pretty wild.
Well, and
what a cool place to be, by the way.
Right. to even think about. I remember in the Sienna days, there was like, okay, we need to build a building.
Yeah.
And I think I wasn't in the conversations, but I remember hearing kind of through the background, we could go somewhere with a big plot of land and then buy that land and then start building, or we could just build on the land we have.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the numbers and thinking like, just the land alone is worth so much money. So what a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift to the church. And then we're just sitting here in this place that has ministry happening week in and week out. It's amazing. Well, what do you think, changing gears a little bit, because the podcast is about addressing this issue of young people walking away from the church. We were even just talking off mic a little bit about how, and I don't have anecdotal evidence for why it seems that it's spiking in some areas, maybe, or some churches and not in other churches. I think we've found that it's not a major problem. Not to say that like, hey, we figured it out, but I have a heart for making sure that churches, so whether these are families with teenagers listening, or whether they're youth pastors that are leading student ministries listening, that we would put some things into place. We're talking off mic. It's not really happening, and here at your campus necessarily. Have you ever experienced it in any church, or did you ever even walk through that season? Or
Sure. So I think the deconstruction word is a very broad. It can be a very broad word. I would say a lot of what I've learned in the last few years is when we have students that decide to either, whether it be walk away from their faith or whether it be not attend church while they're in college. I think a lot of it is, did we stress the importance of what it means to be a believer, a disciple of Christ? We say, verbiage we use here quite a bit is, a disciple is someone, we want to make disciples, Great Commission. Disciple is from Matthew 4:19, just a definition we use can be a disciple, someone who is following Jesus, being changed by Jesus, and living on mission for Jesus. And a lot of times we kind of only get to the head and say like, yeah, I want to accept Christ, or we give a really great sermon, and then like at the end, their insides are tingling and like, yes, this is it. I'm a Christian now, and because I'm a Christian, I'm good. And then the discipleship piece we find is what was lacking. In fact, I think it was either Lifeway or Barna. They gave a statistic of, out of the, whatever it is, 60-70% of church students that decide to walk away from their faith, something like 70% of them to 60% of them didn't have multiple adult leaders pouring into them. And so that's even how we decide how we structure our Life Bible studies on Sunday mornings. Hey, there's one adult going through 7 years with a student the best idea, or would it be a better idea to have one adult maybe going alongside a student for a year or two,
and then switch it up,
because obviously, and so we haven't seen, and of course I've only been at this campus for 4 years. My last church, we had some students that really fell to the society. Things such as, one was a boy who transitioned into a woman, broke their family's heart, all of these things, and completely left. But I would also say that that church in particular didn't do the best job maybe at giving the grace of, hey, you're still welcome here. Hey, there's a Jesus that loves you. It kind of turned ugly very fast. And so I would say, you know, we do see students desiring other things and desiring the world. And even post-college, I'll have students call me, or post-high school, while they're in college, I'll have students call me and be like, hey, so I want your opinion on this, because I feel like I shouldn't want this, or shouldn't maybe be doing this. And like, I have a friend who he's 19 and he said he can drink in Mexico or whatever, so why can't he drink here? And they're like, what is the biblical backing of this? And what I found is that the kids that respond or that ask me these questions are kids that I've either discipled one-on-one or have gained their trust. And so really what I think we've been getting better at and really been striving for is equipping leaders to do the work of the ministry, because right now I only have 2 other staff members that are doing ministry alongside me in student ministry, and with 200 however many kids, you can't
have that conversation with us. Yeah.
And so that is a long-winded answer to say we're seeing you know, some of that, but it's not like this big wave of deconstructing our faith. We're no longer believers. It's more of what we see as apathetic students that never really got it in the first place, that are either attracted to just something more shiny in life post high school, or they just don't care. Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been seeing.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think, you know, you obviously can't like download faith into their heart. You can't make them believe. And so I think every youth pastor would be like, well, yeah, you know, every parent would be like, well, yeah. And it's funny, the parents, I think maybe because youth pastors are dealing with a group, a whole crowd, and parents like, well, that's my kid. And I've had some times where parents are like, hey, this is really important. He's about to leave the nest, and I need to make sure that he believes in Jesus before he leaves. And I'm like, ma'am, I cannot make that happen.
4, right? Deuteronomy 6, sorry. Parents are the primary disciplers of their kids. I had going off of that, I had a student at my last church once. He stole, so he found a church credit card on one of our staff members' desk. Took a picture of it. He was addicted to Minecraft. Oh, no. He was addicted to Minecraft. And
I don't mean to laugh. I just thought addicted to, and I filled in the gaps with so many things, and Minecraft was not in the top 20.
Minecraft. And he stole from the church that money, and spent $600-700 on Minecraft. And his parents, you know, they were very much so, like, obviously very sorry for it, paid the church back, all this stuff, and something that the mom, you know, the parents never talked about their faith to their student. And the mom was like, I don't think y'all understand. We are trying to get him to know who Jesus is, and y'all are not, she said, and y'all are not doing that because y'all are getting mad at my kid for stealing. Well, yeah, but y'all are getting mad at my kid for stealing. Like, didn't Jesus leave the 99?
Oh,
like, she gave us that kind of spiel, and I remember being like, I'm just trying to help.
We're allowed to hold your kid accountable too.
But there's this, it was kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and she was a working mom. He was a very, very hardworking dad. And so they just never talked about the faith at home. Yeah. And so, it's wild.
Do y'all, let me ask you this. What kind of, in all transparency, I sent you a few questions ahead of time. so you could prepare.
Yeah.
And so many questions are just going to come off the top of my head. So
That's
here
great.
we go. What do y'all do in an effort to kind of encourage those parents to be the primary disciplers? Like, what does that look like? What does your partnership with parents look like? Communication, all that kind of stuff.
So a lot of times what we'll do, especially for our Wednesday night teachings, which are more topical, we will, so right now we're doing a Vices and Virtues series. Last week we did Lust and Self-Control. The week before we did gossip and self-restraint. And then the week before that was like pride and humility. Next week's anger and forgiveness. And then we're actually doing one on, for the first time ever, I'm teaching on like drunkenness and sobriety to our high school students. Hey, what does the Bible say about this? And so what we've done to partner with the parents is for many of those teachings, especially the big ones, the drunkenness one, the lust and self-control one, we're going to, we send an email with the scripture we're going to use, the context we're going to use it in, the main points we have, as well as questions you can ask your kids. And so we try and partner alongside our parents that way. I would say Jason is a perfect example of someone who shepherds really well. And one thing that he does is anytime we have a new family, well, for one, we are required as a staff, I say required, we're encouraged as a staff to, if we have 3 opportunities a day, breakfast, lunch, and coffee, and 4 days we work in the office each week, 12 times. We have 12 opportunities to meet with someone, and they want us to meet with someone at least 3 of those times each week. And so that includes parents, that includes leaders, that includes students. But Jason, he's really big on, hey, you have a new family, you're emailing them, you're calling them, you're seeing like how did they like it. What can we do to help make their experience here better in student ministry? And so we do a lot on the front end of trying to just make sure that they feel welcomed and that they feel known. And then as they continue on at their time here at Houston's First, we have opportunities like Wednesday nights to do equip classes, and we're doing different parent classes. We're doing a hard topics one this fall. We're doing just a lot of different. There are many different ways we kind of give those parents an opportunity to walk alongside us.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I think the communication piece is so big, and
it's easy too.
It actually is easy.
It's just you just got to do it.
You just throw this. So we are always just like the first of the month is our deadline. So the first is coming up, and we've got some big announcements coming up. For summer events and things like that. Yeah. And so this is our October episode. So October 1st, we should be throwing out a podcast and a parent email at the same time. Nice. I think those are all good because you're exactly right. Parents are the primary disciplers. And we've really leaned in a lot from Orange on that with this kind of partnership between the family and the home.
Sure.
Just kind of point kids towards Jesus. So what would you say? I mean, you've lived through 2020 here with us. What do you think is the most challenging thing about student ministry kind of in this 2024-2025 school year? Not necessarily at Houston's First or in Texas, but like in our day and age, what are you finding most challenging?
I think everybody says technology. And I think it's a very real answer because we relied on technology heavily during COVID, and technology also at the same time made a lot of students feel isolated. A lot of adults feel isolated and alone, and helped them kind of realize how alone they really were when they were quarantined. And so I think that there a lot of times something we say out here is, we're living an anxious life with pretty pictures, because what they will do is myself included, adults here included, we paint this pretty picture of like, we're doing great, you know. Yeah, I got to go to Trader Joe's, or I got to go to the outlet, or I was in the Woodlands the other day, or I went on vacation with my family doing XYZ. Yeah. And all those things are great, but deep down on the inside, it's like, no. How are you really doing? How are you really feeling? And so I would say that a big stressor that we see. In fact, I know someone who, and I won't get too specific, but I know someone who, they were going to a camp it's kind of like a fish camp sort of thing. They were going to a fish camp type thing at their college, and they saw that during the camp, like they followed the camp on Instagram, and sometimes they do skits or they do plays or whatever, and it like freaked them out. And they were like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to this college anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it was like, oh my goodness, it is going to be okay, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
But, and so I would say technology, we don't realize at times is really just swaying our students and our culture. And we have many students who don't have phones, but we have probably more students that do have phones, and they outsmart their parents sometimes on the parental controls and things like that. But I would say technology and apathy probably came from COVID. Yeah. Apathy being just like, we weren't in a hurry to do anything during COVID. We were just in a hurry to not get sick. Yeah. And we didn't have to go to school in person. We were just like, whatever. Yeah. I'll do school when I kind of want to. I'll get my work done when I want to because I don't have any deadlines. I don't have to see people. And I think that those kids that were, or our kids now that are in student ministry, many of them were either early middle school or in elementary school during that time. And so we're starting to see, I think, maybe some of the repercussions of that.
So what's interesting is that I've had conversations about this, and I if there's anyone listening who's got the research on what happened to our kids exactly, I'd love to get a hold of that. I have said it that at our campus, if there was a group of students, there's about a 4-year stretch. And I want to say, I just told someone the other day, I said, I'm pretty sure it was, if you were in high school when COVID hit, it was those kids. And there was a social break. Yeah. And they started isolating more, and they lost all kind of desire to connect. It's not all of them. I'm just obviously painting in broad strokes here. And that kids younger than that didn't lose the social as much, but that they had an academic delay show up, because all of a sudden, and my youngest was, I think he was starting kindergarten. Okay. And I remember he got on a Zoom call, and his teacher's like, click the button that says this. And I'm like, my kid can't read. And, right. He has no idea what the button says. And that was, it was miserable, and no one wants to go back to that.
So I feel like a lot of times what we would always say to parents of concerned middle schoolers is like, hey, there's this switch that happens in 10th grade, 10th grade. Just trust us, and that used to be when they were kind of finding their purpose. And now it almost just seems like it's delayed.
Yeah. It seems later. Which before COVID, there was
oh boy.
Yeah. Before COVID, there was already talk about how adolescence was getting pushed into the mid to late 20s, 25, 26, 27. I'm like, what? Yeah. Because in my world, adolescence, 18, it was over. Yeah. You're an adult, get it together. Yeah. And I'm not saying the good old days. Sure. I'm just saying things have changed a lot. Yeah. I think that's challenging for us as well. I think the challenge though has, and I just to say it out loud, I think COVID was my biggest challenge. Our story was COVID hit. I had been here for a year and a half. We were experiencing some momentum, and then obviously all of that just hit a brick wall. Yeah. And we didn't go to camp or anything that summer. We kind of tried, and then we couldn't. Sure. And so that next summer, 2021, of course, in Texas, everything is happening. Yeah. And we were going to make camp happen. And then we got smacked in the face with kids getting sick and adults getting sick. And and I remember, because we had everyone, this is just me, my counseling appointment. Thank you for counseling me. I'm sitting on your couch. I remember sitting in the Majestic Ballroom there, where we would normally, years past, have had 400 people just packed in for camp, for Rush Week. And the only people that were in there was the speaker on the stage, no one in the chairs, a camera in the middle of the room, and a guy behind a soundboard. And I sat kind of watching as we streamed the service into their condos so that they could have some semblance of, it's like we went there, we thought we'd be okay, and then we obviously had them sequestered in their rooms, and it was I had a world-class pity party. It was the saddest, and that was challenging. And I think we're just starting to climb out of some of it because the next year wasn't easy either, you know? And so in my student ministry, I was like, in all transparency, I think I've told you this. You have such an incredible high school ministry, and it, from outside looking in, didn't seem to hit a glitch at all. Sure. Because your kids had like culture and excitement and vision, and they were all in community with each other. And I remember seeing our kids like maybe not being so quick to sign up for Rush Week, maybe not being so quick to like show up on Sunday or Wednesday, kind of like hands off. And so obviously it wasn't everywhere, you know, and I think maybe our campus was a little, our campuses launched on the same day, but they were massively different launches. Y'all launched in, I believe, a middle school. And then we launched by merging with another church. And so there was there was a group of people that went to Cypress to launch it. And then there was a smaller group of people that were merging with Grace Church in Siena. And so different campuses, different struggles, but some of the similar things I think that we've been able to guide students through, and that again, I'm consistently looking for more research, and I think one day someone's going to show up and say, "Hey, do you want to talk about that weird thing about your teenagers isolating and not figuring out, like having those delays socially and academically?" We think we know what happened. I can't wait for that day, because at the very least it'll give us a little more weaponry on how to lead them well
and how to defend it from whatever it is. And one thing we say a lot is that our students want, any student in the world, any really person in the world, want acceptance, they want relationships, and they want truth. And I think a lot of what COVID did was it really messed up the relational aspect of that, and even the acceptance aspect of that, to where, you know, you have kids, we say when they come in here, they want acceptance, they want relationship, and they want truth, and we want to be able to provide them all of that. And so that's just kind of been an underlying theme that I think I've gotten to see and witness in even just our student ministry here, is that kids want acceptance from friends, they want acceptance from their family, they want acceptance from a college, they want to be able to say, look at all these places I got accepted to, or I just want to get accepted at all. They want relationships.
Sense of belonging.
Yeah, they want relationships, and that doesn't just mean dating, but just even friends, and they want people that they can talk to, which is why when we have a new student come, our admin, she is so great at just connecting them with either a student at their school or their life Bible study leader, and saying, hey, this is Roy. Roy helps with 8th grade boys, and he's going to be your Bible study leader, and Roy talks with them, takes them under his wing. And then truth. A lot of the world wants to push the world's truth onto literally anybody and everybody, and especially our students that our private school, our public school, and our homeschool kids, they're all struggling with finding truth. And so we want to be able to, that's why on Wednesday nights we mainly stay topical, just because we want to be relevant. And hey, what does the Bible say about drinking? Like, why is it such a big deal that all my friends that are partying for prom or homecoming, they're able to do it and not seem to have any repercussions, but it's a problem if I do it. And so it's been really neat and a blessing just to kind of get to watch students say that they're done living a double life, and that they are willing to do what it takes, if that means get rid of certain friends, or leave a sport or any of that. If that's what it takes to follow Jesus, then I'll do it.
That's awesome.
And so that's been fun, especially their junior, senior year.
Yeah.
Getting to watch them just like
really go
catch
for
on
it.
fire, and us be like, why is this not happening? Like, why?
Yeah.
If this would have been the 8th grade, it would have been beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Give us those 3 again and kind of close.
acceptance, relationship, truth. They spell art.
Acceptance, relationship, truth.
Sometimes you
good.
put like fun at the beginning, so it spells
Yeah.
fart. So, but
That's a good youth ministry acronym. That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, every
Okay.
kid wants it.
Let me hit you with some lightning round.
Lightning
Let's
round.
hit you with some lightning round questions.
Hit me with it.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue.
It's
Why?
always been my favorite color. Don't know.
Just because it's a boy color.
Yes.
Why is it
And
not maroon?
overdone?
Ooh. Overrated. Some would say.
Some would say overrated. I always just say keep your expectations low, so that when they win against Bowling Green, you can be excited.
Boy, that was a fun game.
Yeah, you would have thought that.
So you're an Aggie all the way through.
I am, and I never watched any professional. I'm not making this up. I never watched any professional sports until I moved to Houston 4 years ago. I just didn't care because I lived in College Station, so A&M was everything.
It was the only thing.
It was like Aggie. I love college baseball, college football, dabble in basketball in March, but that's about it. But yeah, since I grew up there, I remember my dad. He was the one who kind of taught me, like, listen, we're gonna go to the game, and you'll probably be disappointed if they lose, but you just kind of always expect them to lose so that you can be happy.
What are the exact? I was telling my son this. What are the exact colors of A&M?
Maroon and white.
Maroon and white.
Yes.
It's not like cream and crimson or scarlet and gray. It's
maroon and white.
Maroon and white.
Part of the yells. Some of the yells they do say maroon and white.
What a cult!
Yep.
What a cult!
It's a fun cult.
What's your favorite?
The Aggie spirit is
What's
everywhere.
your birthday meal? What's your favorite? Just really going for it.
So there's a place here called Alicia's. It's my favorite Mexican restaurant. I'm half Mexican, and so I feel like I can have a say.
Okay.
And
you can have a say if you're not, but I get it.
But they season them like the best, and it's like the perfect size cuts of meat. I love it. It's better. I think it's better than Gringos, La Viva.
For the record, you
Papacitos.
suggested we went to Chipotle before this, so
it was closer though. That was the thing. It's like 25 minutes away. I'm
not taking this white guy to
I know.
Alicia's.
He won't know. But the staff is friendly. What I really love about the place is I have almost a 2-year-old, and it's like kind of like Papacitos, like big restaurant.
Yeah.
Just lots of acreage. Yeah. And you can't be too loud there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like you can go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go for it, and also like your kid will yell and no one will care. So that's kind of the stage of life we're at.
Yeah.
Though, so
that's awesome.
But
stage of life you're at. How old is your son?
He is going to be 2 in December, so I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
21
it's funny you do months until they're 2,
I know,
and so
and then who cares?
And then it's just he's 2 and he's going to be 3 eventually.
Terrible 2. We're at terrible 1.5, but he's doing good. He's doing fine.
1 3/4. Can we talk on the podcast about how your wife is expecting? And if not, we can delete it.
No, yes. She's expecting. We're expecting another boy. So we're trying to be like the Cox family. And
congratulations. You got a ways to go.
Or the Swiggerts. Also 3 boys. We thought it was going to be a girl because Sarah, she was like very, very sick this go around. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a girl." So like they knew,
or like it's up high, it's a girl, or it's I don't even know the rules.
Yeah, and then like Kelly, she does a thing where she says, "Let me see your hands. Like show me both of your hands." And if you go or show me your hands. Put your hands up. And if you go like this, it's one thing. If you go like this, it's another thing. But Kelly, I'll tell you, Kelly has been like right almost every time I've seen her do it. She was right with our first boy. So we're super excited. We were like, well, maybe the next one. Like we're kind of like already talking about maybe another one will be a girl, but we'll see. Yeah, he's due in March, the middle of our spring break mission trip.
Yeah, March. Okay, is there a name?
No, not yet. And we're trying to figure out if we want to do the thing of like wait.
LLL or wait until the moment.
Do all the L's? Do you do the tribes? Our baby's name's Levi, so do the tribes of Israel? Do you do the another L?
What was the original reason for Levi?
So Levi, So my wife and I, we met at Impact Retreat.
Okay.
And at Impact Retreat, they split you into 10 different camps. It's like a Christian retreat, kind of like a Christian fish camp. And each camp is a tribe of Israel. So they had Asher, Benji for Benjamin, and ours was Levi.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of made it about
That's
us.
fun.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Yeah, so that's how we got that name. So that's why we're like, well, do you do Asher? Do you do Simeon? Is it weird to name your kid Zebulun or Gad?
You start to run out of doable names.
Doable ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
what is your dream car?
I would say honestly, I don't care.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's one of those like
one that has a catalytic converter.
One that has a catalytic converter, so when I drive around this neighborhood, people don't think I'm
You got your catalytic converter stolen a couple years ago.
Horrible. And they're expensive, but beautiful thing that happened there is our students, they were the ones who bought me a new one.
They're the best.
They were like, we want to buy you a catalytic converter. And they, without me knowing, raised like $1,500.
That's great. Because that's how much they cost.
Yeah, it was like, I think I paid $200 for my new catalytic converter and the cage to go under it so it doesn't get stolen again.
There's a cage?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know.
You can put like almost like a cage to block people from going up under and just zipping it off. So.
I didn't know that. I don't know that anyone's trying to take mine, but that's good to know.
Yeah. It's a pain. Buy the cage. It's like $300. You could put it in yourself.
Who are you voting for? Trump or Harris?
I am voting for Greg Mott. And I think he's going to really do change.
He's going to he's going to make a difference.
He will.
That's good. Really good answer.
You like that?
Did you almost thought about answering, which I was joking, and I was like, I'm going to get a real answer, and I'm going to let this happen.
Yeah. We'll see.
Dude, are your kids political? Are your students political?
Some of them know way more than me. And they're like, well, back in Reagan's time, I'm like, what are you talking about? You weren't
Do you
even
think
there.
they know, or that they heard mom and they're parroting? Heard mom and dad? Some
hear mom, but some, they're like history buffs.
Yeah.
And they are very big in politics and they will go and run the world one day. Like that's like what they're going to do. We had one that graduated last year who was very into politics and into like UT football. But he was just like, this is the problem in America. This is what the economy needs to do. The like GDP, like all of these things that I'm like, you can't even vote yet, but this is great.
Good for you.
I'll vote for your candidate, I guess, for you. But
no kidding.
Yeah, so some of them are political. Some of them don't have any clue.
Yeah, I'd still say most don't care.
We made stickers. I don't know if I showed you that said I went to LBS, and they're like voting stickers. It's like I voted, but I can't remember where we put them. I'm sure I'll find them.
I want one. Tommy, thanks for taking the time.
Hey,
appreciate it. Super glad you're here.
No, I'm glad to be here. Love working with you and the team and doing things for students. So.